Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Except that it is not tea today. We are in Christmas week. If you don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays in general. If you do celebrate Christmas, Merry early Christmas here. We are having hot chocolate every day this week that I am doing this show, which is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So today, tomorrow, and the day after. That's most of the change. I'll also be wearing sweaters, but that's it. This one is my Spider-Man one. I love this sweater. It's fantastic. Getting right into D&D news. We do not have any D&D news, really. Again, we're sort of turning down for the end of the year here, so I'm not super surprised by that. But we have some really awesome releases coming out in January, so make sure you check out all of those things if you are interested in finding those things. Next up for streams, we have a very strange one coming up. It is the Lost Odyssey Promised Gold, presented by IGN and D&D at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It is exclusively being streamed on IGN's TikTok. It is DM'd by Deborah Ann Wall with a crazy cast of players. We have Jack Black, Gaten Matazzaro, Janina, oh Jesus, I can't read my own handwriting. Janina Gavinkar, Melissa Villasenor, Michelle Rodriguez, and Reggie Watts. That is a phenomenal all-star kind of cast. I am really excited to hop on and see a little bit about what's going on with that. I'm going to be at work for the most part, so it's kind of unfortunate that I won't be able to see it. But I'm definitely going to take a minute to actually just see what is happening on there, because that is kind of wild to me. That is the way that they are presenting that, and with that cast, and so I'm just interested to see what that's going to be, because that is a stream that I want to see. Moving on to T&D, I have, obviously, as I said, I just have regular hot chocolate today, but it is in the sweater mug because it is the cozy time season. It feels right. I don't know what else to tell you. I also want to take a second to say thank you guys so much for your patience on Friday. Obviously, I did not get an episode up on Friday. I have been having internet issues here. We are still, as of even yesterday, feeling the after effects of the huge storm that came through last week. There's a lot of places without power, without internet, that were hit with really bad tornadoes. We luckily did not actually get stuck in the path of those tornadoes, but we are feeling the after effects every once in a while. We had a power outage 2 days ago, and our internet has been spotty at best for the last little while. So it's kicked on again in the last 12 hours to be pretty good. When I went to bed last night and this morning now, it's been pretty solid. But thank you so much for your patience on that one. There are certain things that are just sort of out of your control, and I really do appreciate you guys just sort of rolling with it and letting that happen. If you are ever unsure of what's going on if I don't have an episode up, follow me on Twitter, because I will tweet out if I'm having issues with that sort of thing, because that doesn't take a whole lot of internet effort. It just sort of requires a little bit of phone service. But that is all of that. Moving on from that, let's get into what we're actually talking about today. In keeping in tradition with Mondays on this show, today we are talking about the Warlock class. I will be talking about the Wizard tomorrow, so that we can actually round out all 13 of the core classes. But today we are talking about the Wizard, and I am excited. Or we're not talking about the Wizard, we're talking about the Warlock. And I'm excited about this one, because I think that the Warlock is one of the most fascinating classes in the game. So let's dive right into it, shall we? To start off, the Warlock, if you are unaware, for whatever reason, the Warlock is it is your mated deal with someone, person, obviously. And so I'm always excited to see that kind of thing, because it's a really cool concept to me. I personally think that you can make a deal with a god or with all these other things to get yourself to be like a cleric or something that changes sort of the essence of your being. So you could be a sorcerer. There's a bunch of different things that you can do, I think, but this is sort of your traditional one. And I really like the Warlock class because I think it is one of the most customizable classes in the game. And let's talk a little bit about what you get and why that is. First up, at first level, you get your Otherworldly Patron and Pact Magic. Your Otherworldly Patron is going to be, obviously, your subclass. In this, you pick your patron, the person, entity, thing that you have made this deal with, to give yourself this packed magic that you get. And the pack magic is different than any other kind of magic in the game, which is another thing that I think is really cool about it. It is where the joke about Warlocks being like Eldritch Blasters and that's it comes from, because you get cantrips. Eldritch Blast is one of the best cantrips in the game. It can target multiple creatures. It does solid base damage, as much as if you were wielding a longsword with two hands. In addition, you can get benefits that allow you to like add modifiers to it and make it even better, and it's got a crazy range. And the reason that they get that sort of reputation is because they have a very limited number of spell slots. They learn spells as they go up in level, like a sorcerer would or a bard would, that sort of thing, from their warlock list, obviously. But they have a specific number of spell slots, and those spell slots are all the same level. For the majority of their lifespan, they have 2 or 3 spell slots total. That's all of them. They get them back on a short rest, which is exciting. They're packed magic slots. So at first level, we'll say, and then we'll jump forward to one, and I'll sort of talk through how this works. At first level, you have 1 spell slot. It is a first level spell slot. You know 2 spells, so you can use that spell slot to cast one of those 2 spells. Then you can take a short rest, get that 1 spell slot back, and use it again. Immediately at second level, you gain a second spell slot, and then you sit on that one through 10th level. When you hit 11th level, you get a 3rd spell slot. And so the level of that spell slot increases as you go through, slightly slower than your average caster, but just slightly. And honestly, not even... Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm looking at the table right now, and I'm realizing that's not true. They just cap at level 5. So you get 2 spell slots through level 10, at which point you have 2 5th level spell slots. And you gain cantrips very slowly as them as well. Totaling 4 cantrips, you pick your last cantrip at 10th level, and that's where you're at. You still gain spells as you go up, but you stop at that. And then you have 3 spell slots from level 11 through level 16. And so you really do not have a whole lot of spell slots to get, but you get them back on a short rest, and you end up, by the time you hit level 20, with 4 5th level spell slots, which is more 5th level spell slots than your average caster has. And so their packed magic feature causes them to rely more heavily on cantrips, which is where that joke stereotype thing comes from. It's not a bad thing. It's just a different kind of playstyle. You have to be a little bit more conscious of the resources you're using, and every spell that you cast is going to be upcast to whatever spell slot level you have. So if you have 2 3rd level spells and you cast a 1st level Thunder Wave, you don't cast it at the 1st level, you cast it at 3rd level instead. So you will automatically upcast to that. There's no way around that. You can't be like, oh, well, I cast it at 1st level and then I'm going to have a 2nd and a 3rd level. No, that's not how that works. You just cast it at the 3rd level. So it's pretty cool, actually, because honestly, I think it's cool. I think this is a great intro level spellcasting class because you don't have a lot to screw up here, but at the same time, I think that things like wizards and bards are as well, because there is so many options there, and if you do screw up, there's a lot of padding for you there. So this takes a specific kind of person to start on, but that is how it goes sometimes. At second level, you gain access to Eldritch Invocations, which you then proceed to gain as you level up all the way through, up to a total of 8. You start with 2, you get to 8 eventually. Eldritch Invocations are really, really cool. They are features that you get to pick that allow you to adjust to the way that your Warlock works, which I think is really awesome. This is part of where, and by part of where I mean the majority of where, the customization of the Warlock comes into effect. These effects allow you to tailor it more towards your playstyle. So if you're going to be an Eldritch Blaster, you can get things like Agonizing Blast, Repelling Blast, that sort of thing. Eldritch Spear, I believe, is the one that makes it super long range. Not the point. But like, you can get all of these things that will augment the style of play that you want to have, that you are actively pursuing, which makes it way cooler, because I love subclasses across the board in other classes, but they definitely sort of like shoehorn you into a thing. This one lets you pick the things that you want, and then move forward with them, making yourself into the character that you want to be. It is essentially giving you a bunch of Legos, and you put together the thing that you want to out of it. Then at third level, you pick up Pact Boon, which is the third part of the customization level. Subclass, invocations, boon are the things that I see. This one is almost like picking another subclass, but out of a much smaller, more specific pool that don't give you a ton of features across the board, but do give you some features. There are currently 4 of them, I believe. It's only showing me 3, but I'm pretty sure there's 4. There's the Pact of the Blade, the Pact of the Chain, the Pact of the Tome, and I believe there's the Pact of the Talisman as well. These give you certain benefits based on what you choose out of this. And then there are also invocations that you can pick up that have the prerequisite of a certain pact feature that you will then need to, or pact boon feature that you need to have in order to get those invocations. It all sort of meshes together in a way, which allows you to sort of like weave this character into what you want it to be, which again is why I think that it is a really, really awesome one. And I think that it's got a ton of customization in it. Moving on from there, we really don't have a whole lot that goes on. They are at their core spellcaster, which means that they have a similar sort of progression to the other spellcasters we have, which is to say they don't have a lot of ingrained class features. Ability score improvements at levels 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19. They get features from their patron at obviously level 1, level 6, level 10, level 14, and then when they hit level 11, then again at 13, then again at 15, then again at 17, they get something called Mystic Arcanum. This is how Warlocks get access to higher level spells. So Mystic Arcanum at 11th level is a 6th level, 13 is a 7th level, 15 is an 8th level, and 17 is a 9th level. So essentially what this is because it would be monstrously powerful to regain a 9th level spell slot on a short rest, obviously, you instead get get Mystic Arcanum, which allows you to pick a spell from obviously this higher, or the higher levels in this list, because they do have up to 9th level spells. You get to pick a spell from that level, and then you get to cast it once, not using a spell slot of any kind, and then you regain use of that on a long rest. I think that's everything I need to say about that, really. You get 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 1 for 8, and 1 for 9. I don't believe that you can switch that out, so you are kind of locked into that choice once you make that choice, so you better make a good choice with that one. But that is how they are able to access higher level spells, which are obviously really, really awesome. And so while you end up with 4 5th level spells by the end of it, you only get 1 6th level spell, which at level 20 for most spellcasters, you get a 2nd 6th level spell slot. So that's the trade-off there, which is, I mean, it's not bad, it's not the best. By the time you hit level 20, you will have built a Warlock in such a specific way that you're going to be used to it, and you're not really going to notice that so much. But they do obviously get a more limited take on spells than normal. They learn as many spells as a sorcerer does right around. They learn a total of 15 spells, not including their spell list spells. But they don't get a ton of them. So you do have to kind of be very conscious of that when you are picking out your spells. And then finally, I have to hit this 20th level feature before I forget. They pick up Eldritch Master, which allows you to, at 20th level, spend 1 minute essentially talking to your patron, and then you regain all of your expended spell slots from your Pact Magic feature. So you get all 4 of those 5th level spell slots back, and then you can only do that once per short rest, or once per long rest. So essentially, if you are dire straits, you've blown all of your spell slots, maybe you've used up a couple of your Mystic Arcanums, and you know you're about to go into this big fight, you can be like, give me 1 minute. You can be like, hey, Pit Fiend that I made a deal with, I need those spell slots back, and you get the spell slots back. You wouldn't get the Mystic Arcanum back, but you do get the spell slots back. Which, honestly, still a pretty good deal. Still a pretty good trade-off. That's the fact that you get all of those back on a short rest anyway, is really great, and then the feature that allows you to not spend an hour to get them back is even better. So let's rip through the subclasses real quick. They are honestly relatively straightforward, in spite of the fact that the Warlock is such a convoluted class. Starting off at the top, we have the Archfey, which a lot of these subclasses have the same flavor as the patron that they go with. So an Archfey is sort of a nature-y, trickstery kind of subclass. And I say trickster in like a looser sense. It's not like a play practical jokes kind of trickster, but more of like the illusory-ish kind of trickstery. So I think of that as trickstery, but maybe you don't. It's messing with your mind, messing with senses, that sort of thing. Next up is the Celestial, which is obviously going to be your healer type Warlock, which I think they're pretty cool. I don't think they're as cool as Divine Soul Sorcerers. That's just me. But they're still pretty awesome. Following the Celestial, you have the Fathomless, which is... I didn't really know how to explain this one, because your core feature is that you get to summon a tentacle that hits stuff with you. So I put down that it's a good midliner, because it is. It's a pretty solid midline subclass. If you are standing sort of in the middle of the pack between the guys in the back and the guys in the front, and you send your tentacle out to the front, then you can shoot a bunch of stuff off and still control your tentacle. I think that's pretty solid for, all things considered. Next up, we have the Fiend, which is your, it is your more quintessential, like, oh, I made a deal with the devil kind of Warlock. But they are the ones that are kind of more like blastery. They have a lot of like damage dealing spells. Pretty much their entire spell list that they get is damage dealing, with the exception of a couple of them, and even those couple are very like control based. So they are a battle oriented, battle forward kind of subclass. Moving on from that, actually, right into the Genie. This one, while it isn't necessarily a true support subclass, it feels kind of like a support subclass. So I have written down that it is the most support-esque of them, aside from the Celestial, which is a healer slash support class. It's very, very strange. It is one of the most unique ones, I think, because you almost start to take on the effects of a Genie. So it's one that you kind of have to read to get a sense of. Skipping forward from Genie, we have the Great Old One. This one I have Nature / Aberrant. So where the Archfey was a Nature / Trickster, this is a Nature / Aberrant. These are the ones that are sort of like rooted in nature, but are also kind of like otherworldly and like spooky kind of stuff. And so I have down there almost like aberrant beings. That's might not necessarily be the way that you end up playing it, but it is what I have down. I believe I'm gonna get this wrong. Yep, nope, I'm gonna be wrong. Never mind. Forget I was saying anything. Moving on from the Great Old One, anyway, is the Hexblade, which is widely regarded as one of people's favorite Warlock subclasses. It is widely regarded as the best Warlock subclass, mostly because it allows you to... It is widely regarded as the best if you take the Pact of the Blade as well, which is the Pact Boon thing. But it is a fighter-y subclass. It is the one that allows you to fight particularly well. So it gives you something to do other than just Eldritch Blast all the time, even though Eldritch Blast is pretty great cantrip. I don't know why you wouldn't do it all the time if you could. But it allows you to be able to swing a sword a little bit better. So it expands on the cantrip, one spell, cantrip sort of style, because it throws in the ability to actually attack with a weapon better. Moving on from the Hexblade, I have actually lumped the next two together. I have the Undead and the Undying Warlocks. Now, there is a definitive favorite from a lot of people in this one. I'm not going to talk about which one it is, but they are kind of two sides of the same coin, in my mind at least. The Undead is the more spiritual-ish side of Death Warlock magic, and the Undying is the more physical form of spiritual... of death magic. The Undead gives you things like Form of Dread and Grave Touched and that sort of thing, which make you like a spooky kind of person. Whereas the Undying give you like undying nature and defy death and indestructible life. Like it's all about like physical like things, like actually interacting with the body, which I think is cool. I think that it's really cool that they have these two things that are so closely related that it's actually kind of hard to parse them apart, but they are also distinct enough to be able to be their own things. And I honestly give them props for that. I know that, again, one of them less well received than the other, but I think that you need to read and determine which one you like better for your own self, because I don't necessarily agree with the popular opinion of the internet. I think that they're both actually pretty solid. But hey, that's just my opinion. I think that most of these are really pretty great. And I strongly encourage everybody to try out a Warlock, or even in just like a one-shot or something, to see how you like it, because it is a class that gets like looked down on so often, just because they don't have full spell slot capability and they don't necessarily have full fighting ability. So it's people look at it and go, well, what's the point? So I highly recommend everybody take a look at it and see what they can see. If they can, if you get a chance to try one in like a one-shot or something, go for it. But that is everything that I have to talk about today. So thank you guys so much for making part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my patrons. You guys are the ones that make this show possible. If you are interested and able to become a patron, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Thank you so very much once again to everybody. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is you celebrate. I will see you guys tomorrow to talk about the Wizard. And until then, keep on rolling.